is a very nice afternoon and I'm just about to go home right now. However, before I go, I would like to give you an update on the new guidelines for holders of expired permanent residence visas. Did you know that IRCC says that individuals with valid confirmation of permanent residence and permanent resident visas may be exempt from travel restrictions? Canada's Immigration Department has issued new guidelines for holders of expired permanent resident visas. Individuals who are in possession of confirmation of permanent residence or COPR and permanent resident visa PRV but whose documents have now expired may be allowed into Canada depending on their circumstances according to a new operational bulletin. Canada has implemented different policies for expired visa holders depending on whether they are coming from the United States or other countries. The scenarios that I'm going to talk about are set out to the applicable policies. In all cases, only those who intend to stay and settle will be allowed to travel to Canada at the moment and become permanent residents. Those who intend to come to Canada temporarily and leave should not do so now unless they are otherwise exempt from the restrictions. Travel to Canada must be non-discretionary. The government offers examples of the definition of non-discretionary travel on its website. If you're traveling by air, you need to pass a health check conducted by the airline before boarding a flight. If you show symptoms of COVID-19, you won't be allowed to board. As well, if you have dependent family or family members that were also approved, you should all travel to Canada together. For group number 1, valid confirmation of permanent residence and permanent resident visa and traveling from any country other than the United States, those traveling from the countries other than the United States who were issued a confirmation of permanent residence and PRV on or before March 18, 2020, which is still valid, are exempt from travel restrictions. They are allowed to travel to Canada with the COPR and PRV in order to settle and live in Canada as a permanent resident and required to have an acceptable 14-day quarantine plan. The group number 2, for valid COPR and PRV and traveling from the United States, those applicants may travel to Canada from the United States from non-discretionary purposes to settle and reside in Canada if they receive approval for their application. If both their COPR and PRV have been received and are still valid, and they have been acceptable or they have an acceptable plan to quarantine for 14 days. Group number 3 are those expired COPR and PRV and traveling from any other country other than the United States. Those applicants for permanent residence who are in possession of an expired COPR and PRV that was issued on or before March 18, 2020 are exempt from the travel restrictions, and they can travel to Canada for non-discretionary reasons with a COPR and PRV in order to settle and live in Canada as a permanent resident, and they must have an acceptable plan to quarantine for 14 days in Canada. The group number 4 are those expired COPR and PRV and traveling from the United States. Individuals traveling from the United States with expired COPRs can travel to Canada for non-discretionary reasons to settle in Canada as permanent residents, provided their application was approved and they have received their COPR and PRV, and also they have a 14-day quarantine plan. So what do you do if you hold an expired COPR and PRV and are ready to travel to Canada? Remember, only applicants for permanent residents who are in possession of an expired COPR and PRV and who are ready to travel to Canada are asked to contact Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada using a web form. Applicants are asked to provide the expiry date of the COPR and the non-discretionary reasons for their travel, and IRCC will then refer to the web form application to the appropriate processing network, which will assess the application based on the following eligibility criteria. First, you must gather proof that you have an acceptable plan to settle, such as documents to support your living situation in Canada. your address, lease agreement, home ownership document, or employment plans in Canada, the location of your work, letter from the employer. Or you should have also an acceptable plan to quarantine for 14 days in Canada, which includes proof of funds and how you will get groceries, medical care, among other essential services. And you have a proposed travel itinerary, including, for example, travel tickets if they already have been purchased. You must also make sure that you and your accompanying family members meet the following criteria. First, you held a valid COPR and PRV on or before March 18, 2020, but these documents have now expired. No specific date for US-based applicants. And you have a compelling reason to travel to Canada now, such as family reunification, need of immediate medical care, expiring status in the United States, and need to tend to non-discretionary family matters for economic reasons such as to support economic services and supply chains, critical infrastructure support, and the country where you reside is not subject to exit controls that limit your ability to travel to Canada. IRCC will give priority to clients with a proposed or confirmed travel plan that is detailed, or clients who demonstrate a willingness to book and confirm travel plans as soon as they are approved. Processing new permanent residence applications updates. Currently, IRCC is accepting new applications for permanent residence. New files that are incomplete due to missing documentation will be retained and reviewed within 90 days. However, if a new application lacks supporting documentation, an explanation should be added to the application referencing service interruptions due to coronavirus-related travel restrictions. Providing that explanation is important and may result in the application being promoted and reviewed within 90 days. New applications will be processed in the order in which they are received. Completed new applications for permanent residence continue to be processed according to